Super fun. All right. Is this everybody?
Yeah, we're missing one person, but
Okay. Well, I think we can probably. I'll watch the Discord. So if when they hop into any channel, I'll drag them into the super secret interview channel. But oh man, I'm excited to talk to you guys. This is I so I gotta tell you the story about how I saw this map. So the way since you guys are kind of newer creators in the marketplace, the way we kind of do what's called editorial, where we kind of pick out what piece of content goes in the hero area in different rows, all that. Basically, every single person on our team gets input into it, and that is kind of distilled into basically there's. Ooh, I saw one person. I saw J Tom in there. But basically, that gets all distilled down into like kind of one rating. And you guys had for Golem had the highest rating possible. And
oh, that's
when
awesome.
we were doing this meeting, we were talking to the reviewers, and they were just like, "This is a really fun, well designed map." And so I knew I just had to play it. So congratulations on a pretty like probably one of the strongest entries into the marketplace we've had since like Rasa Studios, probably.
Oh, we love to hear that. I got to give a
Yeah.
lot of credit to Josh and Curtis are both in the channel, and Josh designed all the models, and basically the gameplay was a combination of both Josh and Curtis. And I'm more in charge of kind of the texturing, world design, kind of the map design as far as an aesthetic appeal.
Cool. Well, yeah. So let's get this started. So tell me a little bit about Big Die Gaming, and then actually let's do an intro first. So, what's your name, and what do you do on the team? You kind of started already, but feel free to
Oh,
continue.
okay. My name's Brian. I'm kind of the founder and I guess slash owner of Big Die Gaming. You want each person to just kind of
Yeah. Then
roll?
Lekoff, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much just joined, but I don't know for what 6 months ago. First time I'd really done anything like this. It just my friend Josh got a hold of me saying he met someone who was wanting to do Minecraft content, so kind of how we ended up getting started.
That's
And
cool.
Curtis is the kind of the engineer. He does all the heavy lifting as far as programming and so forth.
Oh, nice. You're the Redstone command block behavior pack
Function
wizard
guy, yeah.
function guy. Yeah, that's super
Yeah,
cool.
trying to
So, oh, go ahead.
make
Go
it
ahead.
all work.
Nice. So
Josh, you
yeah,
still connected?
I think so. So
He's in a pretty rural location, so he may get disconnected from time to time.
oh, okay. No problem. I'll watch the channels and make sure I pull them in when I see him there. But so how did Big Die Gaming come together? So you're kind of saying that it was kind of just like a group of friends maybe that kind of reached out and kind of got together. Tell me a little bit about that story.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll kind of give you the short version. I resigned from the corporate world, and I always used Minecraft as kind of a getaway just to kind of go and build, and I mainly played survival. And so I thought maybe I'd start streaming a little bit. And from streaming, people started kind of luring me toward the marketplace. Uh, I had a studio approach me and I hopped in with them for a little bit, but I was kind of intimidated because I got in there and I knew nothing about map
Mhm.
making. And so the progression was I kind of backed off from that team and said, I need to learn a little bit about what I'm getting myself into. So I took off all of 2019 and just kind of studied the mechanics, gameplay, everything that was involved with map making for Minecraft. And through that experience, I started doing more texturing. I started doing some texturing for other games and just kind of having fun with it, just building my own stuff. And then I realized I needed to get some help in because it was getting overwhelming trying to learn everything, learning commands, learning how to texture, the gameplay design, all this stuff. So right about the time I put out an ad to kind of start rounding up some people and start interviewing people, a mutual friend of ours introduced me and Josh and I worked together at a retailer. And he said, "Hey, I'm interested in doing this." So I said, "Well, let's give it a shot. Let's see what we can do." At that time, I thought that we could kind of get involved with scripting and not so much on the function end, but just straight up scripting. And we didn't realize it was just an experimental.
Mm-hmm.
So through that process, we were kind of experimenting around with stuff, and I was seeing some crazy things that these guys were doing. And I'm like, we can do some fun stuff in Minecraft. And so then we switched over to the functions, and we decided, since we'd already spent a couple months just kind of feeling it out a little bit, to do a smaller project. And that's where Golem Guard came into play. And we just kind of all have this, I guess, we gel well together. We
Mm-hmm.
bounce ideas off of each other, kind of fine tuned a lot of the ideas to get to the finished product that you're seeing right now. And that's kind of where we started. And then I do have to kind of give a shout out to the community in a whole, because they've been really friendly. I've jumped from party to party, just kind of learning things, met a lot of different studio members. Aurora team
Mm-hmm.
actually suggested that I go to Block Labs, or sorry, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
wait,
Yeah, Block
yeah,
Lab. Yeah.
yeah, I always want to call them 57 Digital, but Block Labs. And that was a great move for us, because we were kind of missing some of the information. Being a new map maker, you kind of have an idea, but the performance things, some of the logistics that kind of go into map making were kind of foreign to us, and we needed that extra education. And they were there and very supportive the entire way. So I definitely want to give everybody there a shout out that's helped us. Um, Chappers is a great guy to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of our progression. And then we're right here. We do have a few pieces of content that we have in the pipeline right now.
Oh, sweet.
And so we're working hard to bring you some more content this year. I did sign another contract, so I will be releasing a texture pack
Ooh, that's cool.
through another partner. I would have loved to go through Block Labs, but they mainly focus on maps and skins.
Mm-hmm.
So I certainly asked them first, because we
Yeah.
did like working with them.
I'm
So, yeah,
such a huge. I was gonna say I'm such a huge fan of Luke and Jamie. I've known them from 57 Digital for at least 3 years now, because we had our first kind of partner program meetup in London in 2017, and it was them, like all the original 9 partners, so like Noxcrew, Blockworks, Razzleberries, all of them, and that was when Luke just bought me a lot of beers, and the next day I was supposed to present, and it was a little rough, but we made it through. So I'm a huge fan of both of that team and what they've done for the community. So it's really cool hearing the other side of that, and how you're able to kind of use their expertise to grow your own business and really become creator.
Very good mentors. I recommend to anybody who has a lot of questions but has talent to reach out to a publisher and go that direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's it definitely saves everybody a lot of time, because you can kind of fine tune your craft and get a better product out. And they definitely polished our product with some good suggestions and so forth. So definitely worth it.
That's cool. Yeah, because that was actually really the reason that I was really excited to talk to you guys is so I'm personally really close with Pathway Studios, and they were kind of the first kind of publisher that we started with in the marketplace. And when we signed them, Gerald and James were really upfront of like, hey, this is what we're doing. We want to be a publisher. We want to help these smaller studios, kind of get content onto the marketplace. And we were a little hesitant at the beginning, because we were just like, just kind of felt a little weird, but we're like, all right, well, let's be open-minded. Let's give it a shot. And just what they've been able to do from the Pathway Studio side, it's really kind of paved the road for some of these other partners like Block Lab, and I know there's maybe another 3 or 4 other partners that do kind of publishing too as well. Impulse, I know, is another one. But yeah, so how did you? I want to dig into kind of what that relationship looks like, and kind of how more specifically they've kind of helped you, because I'm personally really curious about that. So how did you get initially connected with them?
So Pigeon, who is the owner of Aurora, we just been kind of hanging out. I've been showing him some of kind of my starter projects and kind of just asking for, what do you think? What do you think of this layout? Are we kind of going the right direction? Stuff of that nature. And he leaned out and said something to Jamie, uh, just to kind of get me in the door. And
Mm-hmm.
then I started a connection there. I didn't want to waste anybody's time. So we developed kind of a full product before we actually approached them again. But unfortunately, we didn't know a lot of the ins and outs as far as performance stuff. For example, the block voids and the different things that can cause issues on different devices and so forth. So we had to kind of go back in and fix a lot of things and just kind of tune things up so that everything ran good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we're all kind of bad at grammar. So uh, having somebody to actually catch a lot of that stuff was nice as well. Spelling errors, those kind of things, and just make it be the product that we wanted to. I think
Mm-hmm.
we were kind of in a rush. We were excited. And it was nice to have somebody kind of slow down the process a little bit, make sure that we checked all the boxes, and get everything right. And I think that will pay dividends in the end.
Oh, I definitely think it will be. And I see that J Tom just joined in. How about you do a quick interview, or not interview, introduction?
Josh,
I'm an I do modeling, game design, the sound and music.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say that the models, and I don't know. I think the models and the music in this game are really cool. So we'll touch on that
Thank
in a
you.
little bit. So we have a question from the chat from Ronalda. How long did the application process take with Block Lab? Like, kind of what was what were they kind of expecting from you, kind of when you initially kind of reached out to them, and how long did it take to really get connected?
I wouldn't say too long. Once I kind of initiated a chat, and they were very responsive as far as dialogue, just going back and forth. Once we showed them the product, I don't think it took that long. I don't know the specific amount of days, but I would say probably within a week to 10 days, we were on board with them and then starting the whole process of submitting things in for testing and so forth. Unfortunately, we kind of hit right around that Christmas break time.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of delayed, but not really. They were still pretty active, even though they were taking some time off. They were very attentive to us and to our needs. So I didn't think it was very long, personally. I come from the corporate world where things can drag out for a while. So I
That's
thought it was
not.
very responsive.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool to hear that how quickly they are able to get you into that. So then um, once your product made it to Block Lab and they started putting it through our process, how was how was kind of fixing some of the issues that that our team potentially had during content review and QA? How was that experience?
Very educating. The first thing we did was kind of go through the automated, how it's packaged. A lot of those things were, there's not a lot of documentation out there on the internet. So each time we had a question or something that would come up in the review process, which was very organized, it was, each issue was listed with kind of a code number and so forth. So if I had a more detailed question, I could just kind of copy and paste that in the chat and say, what does this mean? How do we fix it? And they would tell us how to do it and kind of educate us on what we needed to do so that we understood. And that was a big part of the process. The issues were, I would consider, mostly minor, but it was nice to see that they have professional testers that can go in and look at the game at higher speeds, test all the mobs to make sure that their hitboxes are correct, stuff of that nature. And we missed one of the hitboxes, so that was kind of, we feel, a big issue,
Mm-hmm.
because of course you go up against something, and if you're not hitting it, that kind of defeats the purpose of the game. And just to have somebody to do all that catch-all on that end was nice, and you didn't feel like you were alone. That's
Mm-hmm.
probably the biggest thing, because through my year prior to Block Labs, I kind of learned everything just self-taught, just
Yeah.
basically going on the internet, YouTube videos, peeling as much information off of people and like group chats, and you try not to bug people. People are just trying to enjoy themselves. So I try to educate myself as much as possible.
Yeah, that's really interesting or good feedback, because that is really one of the things that our team is really trying to work on, is like, how do we make the process from, like a hobbyist, maybe who downloads Minecraft and enjoys building, and then they kind of get hooked on making command block coolness functions, things like that. And then how do they go from you know getting some maybe tutorials to kind of building their own map or their own kind of adventure map or something like that, and then how do they become, what's that next step, how do they become much more of like a professional creator like you are, and then how do they go from professional creator to partner. That kind of process is something that we're really we've been really looking at over the last 6 months, and trying to make some key investments in that area to make that process that you just kind of explained a lot simpler. So I loved it. Like, I think you're going to be one of those people that I'll probably reach out to, once we kind of a lot of those things hit public, to get some feedback on, because like your your journey is the exact journey that we want to make much easier. So everything that you said is pretty much what I expected. It's tough. There's not like a ton of very specific bedrock creator policies, or or creator documentation and tutorials that are out there. We do have some things that are for partners only, that I want to kind of expand out to non-partners, but yeah, like that, the journey that you went through is really tough. So I kind
The
of.
game is ever evolving too, so that makes it a little bit more difficult because a lot of the information you dig up is outdated and can kind of lead you down the wrong path. So I would always remind people to look and see when something was published. Don't look for something that was published 2 years ago as your
Mhm.
documentation. That's kind of the lessons I learned, because I went down a whole nother path of thinking I was going the right way and doing the right things, but I was reading old publications and they were no longer relevant.
Mhm. Yeah, and then the other thing too that I think is, a lot of people just don't know, because I mean, we don't publish our our internal policies around like what content can be, just because I don't, it's not worth it. But a lot of people just don't know that there are a lot of specific things that you have to do to get your content on the marketplace. How it's
Hmm.
packaged. We have a lot of different policies around like safety and diversity, inclusion, the way that you represent people, all those things. And we have content reviewers and QA people that make sure those are there. Um, so I'm kind of curious. I think that's kind of my last question on this process is, after you got those like certification reports and stuff, I'd be kind of curious what your thoughts are about, kind of making your content compliant.
It was a little bit of work, but we were so excited, just to be at that stage that I don't see it as a deterrent. It's more, I, I guess I'm more the optimist. I look at things that, hey, we're going the right direction. This is a promising step in the phase of getting our content to the marketplace. And I just noted everything.
Hmm.
So when we're making this next piece of content, hopefully we're not making those same mistakes and going through that same slow process. Hopefully we'll be able to streamline things and get our next piece through without. I would say, to give you an idea, we did all that, built the entire game in about a 6-week period,
Hmm.
from start to finish. But we hung up in testing and finalizing everything for a few months. It took us longer in the testing phase than it did in the actual initial build.
Oh, gotcha.
A
Interesting.
lot of that
Yeah.
could have been avoided if we kind of knew the
If you
rules up
knew
front.
exactly.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's discouraging by any means. And I tell anybody who's getting into this, just throw stuff out there and see what sticks. That's kind of
Hmm.
what I did. Unfortunately, a lot of my social media, I just got placeholders everywhere, and I haven't had any time to like follow up. And now that everything's kind of moving kind of fast, I'm kind of paying the price for that. So if you have the chance to set up all your back end stuff, that would be probably a thing I would advise.
Totally. So yeah, I want. Oh, so Thank you for that. That was very illuminating on that process, and it's really cool to hear just how positive your experience was with working with Block Lab. Just because, again, like they're some of our favorite people to work with in the marketplace, and they've been just awesome key members for such a long time. But I want to talk about the map now a little bit.
Sure.
So so tell me a little bit about how kind of the concept started, and then I want to get into the details. So maybe Lakoth, you can talk a little bit about how it was built. But starting off, like what was the kind of the initial concept, and kind of building this like single lane tower defense game?
I'm going to turn this over to Josh because he's the one who came up with the concept, and I was just on board with it.
So the the concept came from like just liking mini games and wanting to experience like a real multiplayer with Minecraft, where you can play on teams with against your friends and so on, and just kind of build that competitive experience, but also at the same time keep a Minecraft feel as well. So I wanted to make something that wasn't just like a game that was added to Minecraft, but I wanted a mini game that felt like it was still Minecraft on top of uh, the game itself. And I think just the whole MOBA lane idea really sunk in with me, with being able to destroy the map and build things on it while you're pushing and playing the game.
Yeah, that
So
was
I
one
guess
of the things. Oh, go ahead, go ahead. Keep going.
I was saying that's like really what kind of hit home was the fact that I could still be Minecraft and play this mini game at the same time. I thought it just fit well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the thing that I thought was so cool is when I kind of had the realization going into the dungeon, and then with kind of Chris's strategy of building those walls, I was like, oh, this is really cool because it's I like I really enjoy like the tower defense games where you have to build your own kind of maze, right? Where like there's not lanes, and it had both of those, and like it kind of scratched both
Yeah.
those itches.
Yeah, the basic formula was like, okay, Minecraft has just this beautiful mechanic where you can destroy and build whatever you want. I don't want to take away from that. I just want to like, how do I work with it? And that was like the idea behind it.
That's cool. And then when did the kind of the classes kind of come in? Because I know that like the miner and I think it was miner, builder, and guard, if I remember correctly. Um,
Yeah.
like how did you kind of think about those when you were kind of designing the like the lanes and how you're kind of building when you're building, having building be a key mechanic.
Well, that's like that was my focus. My foundation was like, what is Minecraft? And it's like, okay, obviously mining and building. And then there's a little bit of like, a little adventure in the base survival with swords and armor and stuff. So it's like I wanted those three aspects to be the core and the foundation. So the classes needed to also be based on Minecraft, builder, miner, and the guard. So it was
Hmm.
like it was pretty much an easy focus right from the get-go that that's what they were going to be. I didn't know like how we were gonna make the moves and all that kind of stuff at the beginning, but I definitely had the idea right from the get go that I wanted to keep it to its core and build a mini game out of that.
Yeah, I thought it was really impressive how you were able to make all of the, speaking of those moves, all those different kind of abilities that you have, like feel very like everything you just felt like Minecraft. Like I was actually really impressed with how you were able to fit everything in such a intuitive way. Like, I read a couple signs and I played one map and I was like, oh, I get this. I get how
Yeah,
this works.
that's good to hear because like that's exactly what we wanted to go for is have that Minecraft feel without like in a sense holding your hand through the game. We wanted to just give the base information, and then we truly believe in our formula that the better fun comes from figuring it out and not having the whole thing explained to you. Because I like watching the stream. It was nice to watch you guys figure it out and like have a lot of fun. And there's still plenty more to learn in that game.
Oh, for sure. Like I feel like just doing the 1v1 versus Chris, I only felt like we were scratching the surface of some of the
Oh
potential
yeah,
strategies. Um,
definitely.
like seeing him
I
build
think
the
one
wall.
important
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I think one important thing is we also gave the freedom to the player to adjust their teams. So having the AI can kind of fill the gap. Say, for instance, you have 5 people and 2 people are really good. they could have the option of taking on the other three, and you can substitute in the AI as that extra player on an easy mode or whatever mode, however you want to balance it. So kind of lets the player kind of, or players, fine tune their experience to kind of get that nice even battle to where they get the
Yeah.
thrill of the victory.
Hmm. So how much iteration did you guys do to kind of get the balance and the strength of the weapons and how many points you have to spend for arrows, that kind of thing? How was that kind of process, that design iteration process?
Uh, so honestly, that went a lot easier than what I was expecting. We had to make a few changes, but actually we just kind of did like just a guess on most of it, and thankfully most of the guesses actually just came pretty close to right. We had to adjust some of the costs, things like that, but it was actually pretty good after we got it mostly working all correctly together.
And then did Block Lab kind of help out with some of that kind of design part too, or are they mostly on the kind of more like policy marketplace kind of side?
Yeah, I'd say more on that side. Um, just more of the overall polish, cleaning up some of our verbiage on our signs, making sure things were spelled correctly, the stuff that we were unaware of, as far as performance things and so forth. Uh, that portion is when they came in, but those were things that were missing pieces of the puzzle for us. We didn't
Hmm.
know
Yeah.
really what we were doing. So, uh, and then on top of it, they just have a good support network. So anytime I'd have some kind of oddball question on like the project that we're working on now, which is way more complex than what this one is, it's nice to be able to get feedback from somebody and just kind of help us through that process.
Hmm.
So that mentoring is super valuable.
Yeah, that's cool. So then the other thing too that I thought was really stand out in the map was all the landscape too. And Ronaldo has another question. Who agrees? He says the landscape is outstanding. Was this 100% in Bedrock, or did you use any kind of like outside tools, maybe in Java, to convert the map?
Yeah, we used some Java tools, and I want to give credit to Alex, who's not with us tonight. He goes by Naxi.
Hmm.
He is our terraformer, and I brought him on board, fully on board, for our future projects as well. I just liked his style, and I actually found him on Planet Minecraft, kind of in a weird situation. I was doing a commission work for somebody else where they just needed the seed to blend into into a, or not the seed, but that map that he designed
Hmm.
blended into a seed, and they didn't know how to go about it to get rid of all the edges and make it kind of be seamless. And when I was looking, I go, wow, you did a really nice job on this. And he goes, oh, I got this from Planet Minecraft. So I looked up um, Alex and reached out to him, and it just, his style works well with my texture packs and his block selection and so forth. So we just kind of hit it off from there. And he's the one who actually came through for the video at the last minute. That was another suggestion. And I'm glad we did that as well, because we didn't originally have a video trailer to go along with the product.
Hmm.
And he did it under kind of a little bit of pressure because we were getting closer to launching. And so he didn't have a whole lot of time to put it together. And I thought he did a nice job for a pressure situation.
Yeah.
And none of us really had any true experience putting together videos before. So I have to give him some kudos on that.
That's cool. Yeah, I just love that, like the fact that you're able to just be a part of this community and be able to grow your team, through just these forums or word of mouth or things like that, and then meeting everybody and everybody just being so supportive. It's just such a cool thing about the Minecraft community that I don't think there's any. I just don't think there's anything else like it.
Yeah, I agree. It was very opening. I asked a lot of questions in the year 2019. I could probably say I asked thousands of questions to
Hmm.
people, and everybody was always open and they helped me any way they could. And then I started kind of growing to the point where I was maybe starting to surpass their knowledge realm, and then that's when I started meeting more experienced people. I was slowly getting introduced to marketplace teams and so forth, who had the knowledge to kind of answer my next level of questions and so
Hmm.
forth. And it's kind of a chain reaction because you get in a party with a couple people and they know a few people, It turns out there's only like 1 degree of separation between all the Minecrafters that are kind of on the marketplace.
Hmm.
So you start meeting a lot of people, and it's a fun experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a cool progression that you're able to go through to kind of do that. Speaking of other people in the marketplace, Adrian Brightmore has a great question in the chat. Who is he does a lot of stuff in the community. Has been doing development on Amulet, was doing stuff on World Edit, hosted a panel and on Minecraft Live in 2019, I think, just all over the place. He says, how important do you think it is to start simple and work your way up to more complex projects?
If you looked at my very first projects, you would see very simple. Um, I was trying to do like a quest system with command blocks, and that felt complex to me at the time. And now the stuff that we're getting into, it definitely makes more sense to kind of educate yourself at the base levels, how command blocks work, how commands work, um, before you even get into behaviors and animations and stuff of that nature. Just to have that core experience is important, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And then has most of your kind of like, Minecraft career progression, I guess, and learning progression, how much of that has been Java and how much of that has been kind of Bedrock focused?
I flip back and forth. I really like the Conquest texture pack and all the things that they've done with all the modifications, and so every once in a while I'll get in and build on my own private project, little world there. And I used to hang out with a bunch of people in Java, and then I switched over about the time the 360 was switching over to, was it just Xbox? I can't remember what the progression of
Hmm.
this was, and then I kind of got hooked in with a group of people on the consoles, and we kind of formed a nice network of people. I would say I probably hang around with, and they're all survival players. That
Hmm.
was kind of my background. I was a survival player, so I've got a couple hundred people kind of in my little group that we always talk back and forth, and I try to play on their realms and servers. Even though my time has gotten scarce as of lately, because I've been involved in so many different projects and so forth, I feel like I don't really have the time to play survival. But our next project has a little bit of survival element.
Oh, cool.
So I'm hoping through the testing and all that fun stuff that we're doing in there that I'll kind of get my fix.
Yeah, that's really cool. Let's see. I have one final question, kind of about the audio and stuff like that too. I think the music was really cool. Like there was kind of one really nice track that kind of was very very upbeat and kind of got you in this the oh, what am I trying to say? Got you in the mood to just go fight a bunch of golems, right? So how was kind of making that music and the different sound effects and stuff?
Well, that was like I play music a lot and jam with my wife and my friend, and we were always making songs, and that was one of the songs we've done, and I just kind of converted it all digitally. uh, I just liked the feel of it. It was like really upbeat. I wanted to do a bunch of different songs, but the timing. So we ended up just going with the one upbeat kind of good mini game vibe song that kind of
Hmm.
keeps the excitement flowing, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it keeps that intensity up.
Yeah, yeah. So we went with that, and then as far as the other things, like some of the stuff you guys haven't run into yet, it's left to be discovered. I'll leave it a surprise. Were my own voice, and I just tweaked it and did a
Oh,
lot of
cool.
yeah. Uh, I'm used to like kind of doing voices and stuff and running like D&D. Being a DM, you got to do all that kind of stuff. So I kind of just come in there and use that kind of experience to make voices and sounds and music.
I was gonna say I noticed the D&D logo on your
Oh yeah.
Discord profile. I like that. We got a couple of questions from the chat too, because there's some great questions. Tristan Production says, "What made you choose the name Big Die Gaming?"
It's based off my gamer tag on Xbox. I decided to do some streaming before I kind of got into the map making, and uh, just kind of felt a little bit of pressure of like getting a name put together. And everybody knew me as Big Die, so I thought, well, I'll just call it Big Die Gaming. and it kind of stuck, and a lot of people seem to be able to remember it. So I thought I'll just leave it at that. And then I went ahead and got my trademark and all that stuff. And so once it became official, I never looked back.
Yeah, sometimes the simplest ones are the best. And then Wattsno says, "What are Big Dice Gaming next steps? You mentioned some of your projects that you're working on, but are there something you're planning for the few next months?"
Probably the next release will be a texture pack. What I did was I was kind of learning textures, and there's another complex issue with trying to find documentation and so forth. So it's a lot of experimenting and seeing if it works. Give you an example, like if you're trying to make leaves and you're trying to understand transparencies and opacity and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of playing around with, and so I decided to put my texture packs, the kind of the beginning ones, out on the internet for free for
Mhm.
anybody to download. And through feedback and different comments and so forth, I've been kind of using that as kind of my kind of beta test or quality assurance, because now I've got literally I passed 1 million downloads, and so I figured with all those people downloading, certainly any problems that arise will be forwarded to me, and I can then investigate and try to figure things out. So that's getting to the final stages. I just, now that I've learned a little bit more about texturing, I want to update a few things to kind of get it to that best quality for the marketplace. But it's getting pretty close, and you got to see some of the textures that are in the pack in the game
Oh, cool!
there. So trying to
Congrats on
focus on.
a million downloads of your stuff. That's really that's super impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's all new to me, so I just kind of roll with it, and I don't mind giving back to the community. I feel that that's one way I can do it is putting stuff on sites like Planet Minecraft and the other various sites to for people to download if they want to and get their feedback. But it's all about kind of polishing for the marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the next project after that will probably be kind of our big one that we're working on right now. But we don't have an actual date. We've hit some critical um, points in the putting it together, making sure that some of the logistics and some of the stuff that we think are going to be really exciting for people to see, we've got them into the game. But now it's all about kind of polishing them up and getting things tested and so forth, and then we're adding some more features and so forth. So I think it'll probably be much later in the year. I don't want to give an exact date, but we're excited to get it out.
That's cool. So then, last question from the chat. It's from Miniature Doggo, which is just a great Twitch name. Will there be any new classes or items, or maybe? And this is I'm adding my own question on top of this, or maybe like a Golem Guard 2?
You go ahead,
the-
Josh.
yeah, actually, as far as like we don't have like a specific like this is definitely going to happen, but I guess it's just how much the fans like it, and I'm all about designing things people like to play. So if like they really want to get into it and really like it, then I don't see why not doing, because I have way too many classes in mind and different ideas for Golem Guard. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess it all depends.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thank you all three of you so much for hopping in and doing this interview. I was really excited about getting the chance to talk to you guys because this is the first non-partner piece of content that I played before through a publisher. And I just thought that was a really cool opportunity to find something that's so high quality, coming through a publisher, which I don't know. I was going to say that's not necessarily, there's no exception or anything like that, because I think there's some really great published content. Even like Orville Studios was published at some point through Cyclone Designs, and they're incredible. So I just thought it was really cool to get kind of get this different kind of perspective, coming through the marketplace in a different way. So,
Well, we appreciate everything that you've done for us and
Yeah.
everybody who's been involved, especially Block Labs, all of our fans, everybody who's been supportive.
Yeah, super cool. Any last shout outs or anything like that you want to make before we sign off?
Well, just since Alex isn't here, I think he's an important part of our team as well. So he's the one who did the terraforming. Definitely want to give a shout out to him. Pigeon from Aurora for kind of streamlining us to Block Labs, and Block Labs has been awesome as well.
That's awesome.
And you, of course. Thanks for helping us
Yeah,
with this
shout out.
and entertaining us for the last couple hours. That was
No
awesome.
problem.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable to watch somebody play it.
Yeah, not a problem. I started doing this stream about a year ago, just as a way to do a little morale event with my partner team, so like Chris and all those other guys that you see on the stream, and then I just started streaming it, and shit, a year later, here we are doing interviews with teams basically every week. So it's been a great. It's been a cool.
Be watching more that we know that you do this.
Yeah, that's the idea. Get the word out a bit more too. So Big Die, Josh Lekoff, thank you so much for hopping in, and I hope you all have just a fantastic weekend.
Oh, we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.